One, before we can even talking of leveraging your digital asset, you have to digitize your assets. That's the starting point. You have to digitize your assets. And what are the assets you can digitize? One, your admission process. The reason is this: the biggest money today is in data. Data is gold. Data is gold. And I'll give you an example. Facebook, what business do they do? It's data. They just sell information. Your data, my data. Amazon, what does it do? It's data. Alibaba, what do they do? It's data. Uber, what do they do? They are hockey data. So for you to make money or to leverage your digital asset, the first thing is to digitize all your contact points. And your contact points include 1, admission, 2, exams, 3, your shopping mall. I don't know whether you have shopping mall, not yet. So that's one way you can decide your, yes. Okay. Okay, so you need that. Why do you need to decide your shopping? Because the people who will fund the university, there are certain data they are looking for, and you commercialize those data. For instance, I work in Unilever, and Unilever will want to know how many of your students are using logs. How many of them used to use logs, but they stopped using logs, and they are now using other stuff. It is on your shopping data that you are going to have that. So it is when you have that Unilever will commission you. I want you to give me the data of the usage. How many people are using Omo? How many people are using Elephant? How many people are using Premier? It is when you have a shop that is digitized that you can give Unilever those data. So the other one you can decide is your cafeteria. How many people prefer fish to meat? It's on the digital you can know. You cannot know the way they operate today, that they just go, they take the food and then that's all. But if you have a digital cafeteria, you're able to capture how many of them prefer fish, how many of them prefer meat, how many of them prefer yam, how many of them prefer rice. Based on what they order, because it's permanent. The data of what they order in the morning today is permanent. But because you've not digitized it, you've lost that of today. And when you have that, you'll be in a position to give a research paper to organizations, to individuals in the food business. Because one of the things that even for you personally as lecturers, as professors, as good people, is the world is full of information today. There is too much information overload, but there is not enough research paper with data, empirical analysis. It is when you have all your points defined that you can have research paper. I gave an example when I was in the video that during that COVID, I read a lot, but I'm not a professor, but I read plenty. I wrote one article that went around the whole world then. Research, all my articles are based on research. All, including that one I sent to the visit. One man saw it, and he put a call to me. The man has been in South Africa. He said, are you a Nigerian? I said, yes, I'm a Nigerian. And I've never met you. I said, I'm a quiet business person. I said, we need to be friends. Send me your account. And it was like a fake. Never met. And an hour later, he created my account with 20 million naira during that COVID period. One article, he sent me 20 million. He said, no, if I have not met you before today, going forward, I want to be your friend. Just tell me your account. Man has plenty to tell in South Africa. Why? It was a research-based paper. So for any of you who are in that line of profession, there is still plenty money to be made. But it has to be research-based. And it can only be research-based when you digitize your points, your assets. The other one you can digitize is your transcript. A lot of your students, I understand you graduated about 12 sets. The next one is the 13th set. So they are all over the world. They need letter of recommendation. But right now, if they need letter of recommendation, they have to get in touch with the registrar. They get in touch with him, he writes the letter for them, they ask somebody to be checking all their file. But that one will become a thing of the past when we have a digital platform that those students, whether in Dubai or Saudi Arabia or Oman or US or UK, they just send their request. And immediately it lands on you, and then they want the letter of recommendation for whatever, for BSc, for PhD, for MSc, whatever, for a job. Then that letter is already decided by the university. A letter of recommendation costs $100. Those men will pay immediately. A transcript costs $200. Those men will pay immediately. 900,000 of students who need letter of recommendation and transcript, and you are not making naira. You are making dollars. Because $100 is nothing to them for what they want to use it for at that point in time. So they fill the form, they put the year of graduation, they put their call-up number, admission number. That's all you need. And then in 5 minutes, letter of recommendation has gotten to their university or the employer where they need it. And then $50 or $100 is already in your account. If it's transcript, $200 is already in your account. That's having that platform that we can now use to increase our university revenue. Also, in you, I talk about university professors having a YouTube for lectures. And I sample the students that have millions of people that mentor, millions. Okay, will you guys listen to Nigerian professors on YouTube? And I said, why not? Will you guys pay 3,000 naira to listen to the lecture 5 minutes, 10 minutes? The maximum lecture they can listen to on the YouTube is maximum is 10 minutes. So if you have a lecture of 30 minutes or 45 minutes, all you need to do is break it down into 4. 7 minutes or 10 minutes velocity. You want to teach velocity. Take your phone, record your lecture. Now they are learning on Twitter because Twitter has a space now. That's also the valuation of Twitter up. Why Elon Musk says he's going to pay $44 billion to buy it, $44 billion to buy it. Because the youth have converted Twitter to also a learning platform. I was shocked. This one is just a recent development of one about 2 months ago. Now, if you don't want us to see your handsome face or beautiful face, deliver your lecture audio. I'm Professor Yusuf, and I'm going to teach velocity. It's in 4 parts. This part A is covers this, and in 10 minutes, deliver your lecture. They listen to UK professors. They listen to US professors on YouTube. True of us. But you don't have African professors on YouTube with in a coordinated manner. And all the knowledge they have in UK, we have peculiarities here that they are missing, that they don't have. And they are not going to learn the way you and I learn. One day I took my children to my library. I have about 2,000 books there. My son said, Daddy, I won't deceive you. I cannot finish this book. I told them you are going to finish this book. They said, Daddy, I won't lie. I cannot finish. If I do 10% of these books, you must give me a word. How can I be reading all these books? They cannot read the way we read again. They are like in that phone. So if you want to meet them, you have to meet them on the phone. So I discussed with all the pieces. Let's come together. By the way, I came from Abuja yesterday. I wanted to make promise to change the chairman of the committee of vice chancellor that let's put an action to it. But now that you are here, we will start with you. We build a platform on behalf of all Nigerian universities, and you are going to be the first to deliver your lectures there. If we are waiting for 200 universities to be ready at the same time, we're not going to do anything. We start with you, we put other ones that are already there, and then 2,000 per annum. That's what they will pay. And they have access to everything. What I want to do for them is that they have access to the chemistry professor in UI, the one this day, the one in Unilab, the one in all over. So if you are even a slow learner, by the time the Unilab professor of chemistry, UI professor of chemistry, Ife professor of chemistry, and Al-Hikmah professor of chemistry teach you on velocity, you are going to get it. That's what technology does to them now. And the 2,000 in millions of places, professors who will have money. Or you don't want more money, sir? I want to. Because your own bills too is high. You want to send your children to private university where they pay millions, and the salary is not up to that. But there must be ways through which you can make legal money. 2,000 in 4 million places is already 8 billion naira, 16 billion naira. So we calculate it based on the number of people who watch you, who listen to you, and then the algorithm split the money immediately. So you are just in your bedroom, madam had a laugh, my husband, let me see your phone. The problem put the phone here at that time. But madam see here the sound of Allah. You know women, they know the sound of Allah from the sound of the breathing. So that's one of the ways we can make money for university and for yourself. So I talk about that. I also talk about innovation center. When we talk about Stanford has produced so many businesses more than any other university in the world. Their strength is in that innovation center. I know this is going to talk more on that, but that's one of the things I told them in New York. Each university must have an innovation hub. These children, if you know the ideas in their head, it's amazing, but they don't have any way to express it. But when you have an innovation hub, before I came here, I told somebody to take me around the university to see all the opportunities. So you need an innovation hub where we can incubate their idea. I'm so close to them, and they also have freedom. One of them came to me about 3 weeks ago. He said, sir, if you give me just $5,000 now, and he gave me his business proposal, he said by December, I'll give you $500,000. He said, is that one enough for you, sir? Once you follow this process, which I want to itemize for you. It's a new leap of technology, which they call NFT. I don't know if you are part of NFT. NFT is a way of making money from your digital asset, like artwork. That artwork, some they sell some NFT for $40 million, some $10 million. Did you see a newspaper who took the picture of a drummer, an NYC guy, and they bought it for, somebody bought it for, he gets $1 million. The first picture, he sold it for $1 million. The day he went to present the picture, somebody bought that one again for $2 million. So one picture that takes only 5 seconds, the guy made $3 million. And the newspaper, we call it NFT, non-fungible token. So there is a little Google, an Indian 12-year-old guy that made $6 million simply on artwork. Later after they just Google it. Indian school girl that made $6 million for NFT. You are going to see it there. So there are so many opportunities. The founder of this university is an opportunity that someone who rose from that background to have this. By the time you put it on the world map, in fact, Baba said when he was in Cambridge, the Igbo man was just looking at him. that how do you think of having a university? Papa, how? What looking at them? So by putting me on the worst stage that this is the background of the of this university, you see how many people will rush you. But when you make money, don't forget to face it. Okay, so that's innovation hub. So we need innovation hub for them. What that one does for you is that as they have idea, like the guy who says, and he gives me $5,000, he will use it not for bad business, for NFT business, which I understand, and he will return $500,000 at the end of the month. Yeah. They also, once they set up their businesses, you have equity in that business. It can be 20% because all of the investors will still come and take stake there. So university takes 20%. That's the secret of Stanford University. They make money from all those there who pass through the university, all those Google guys, all of them, including their professor. The professor that look for investors for Google guys, at the point in time, say no, they should give him more money. That is tired of money. He has made billions. We're not talking about millions of dollars now. Say, only this small thing I put my hands into. Billions of dollars. He said, no, I'm okay. I don't want more money. So that's what it will be. But we have to nurture them. We have to give them infrastructure. The other way in which you can make money, if I also told them in you, it's what's your edge? When we talk about this university now, what comes to somebody's mind apart from being a faith-based university? In this place, Greek is a major source of labor and occupation for people. I gave an example of a university professor in Hebrew University. At the point in time, Covenant University asked me to go to Hebrew University for them to bring them some Nobel laureate people. And I met them. There is a particular guy who did a research on tomato, how to make tomato to last 2 or 3 days longer on the shelf. Because when they harvest tomato, within 2 days, it's already gone. And farmers are losing money. And then they start running from the head. Those are the 2 things they wanted the university to remove. This professor and the students, they removed that research, they sold it for 80 million euros to a company. When I wanted to bring that seed to Nigeria, they told me 1 seed at that time 5 years ago. 1 seed was 5 euros. 1 seed. And that 1 seed is only for 1 planting season. When I harvest tomato, I cannot use that tomato seed to plant. I have to go back to Israel to go and buy another seed. Now imagine how much money they are making, how many seeds in 1 tomato. And guess what? The professor that did the research, immediately they paid me 80 million euros. He came as a student. He resigned. He said, what the heck do I want in life? I want to go to Hawaii. The university was mad. Hey, we need you more. He said, no, you need me more, but I need my phone now. I'm okay. Because the university took a portion of it. The student took a portion of it. He also took a portion of it. Maybe his own portion was like 20 million euros. 20 million euros times 800. That's the kind of naira 16 billion. You say, no, Baba, if you have 16 billion now, will you still stay there? Only tomato. The same time I was in university, they also doing potato. Potato get rotting fast, and they took it to there. It's an Indian businessman that took that one there. I want you to preserve this potato to last a little longer. You know, potato also, it rots away very fast. And they did that one. And they also pay them. If the university has generated over $2 billion from research alone. So for you here too, you can focus on agri as researchers. I hope you have agri researcher here. Oh, you are not agri. Good. There's so much money there. So much money there. All we need to do is to sit down, and the research of today is not all about the old people. Because the ideas in their head, when we collaborate with the senior people, it brings out fantastic results. And the more of that you can do, the better for the university, the better for the income, and also for the student. So the other things I thought about is we talk about blockchain verified e-documents. That's no, go back. Okay, start on number one. Okay, yes, start on that number one. Yes, license of insight for others. We talk about trading with data, enhancing existing products or services, and then decide existing products or services. We talk about that. Invited data monetization to escape privacy. Sometimes
talk about that.
We'll talk about that.
No, please talk about that.
I should talk about that. Yeah. Okay. If there will be occasions when you are going to have privacy issues when they give you research. So what people do is to impact the data in the sense that you remove the key figures of the people. The people, the names, you remove the names, you remove the location. So by trying to remove the name of the actor, the location where the things take place, then you can escape privacy. So that's what we call the imparted data monetization. You want to check them?
We have it on our phone.
You have it on the phone, yes. They are the ones that produce the chips. Taiwan is 20 million people, but they are 20 times richer than Nigeria based on technology. So the trend has left UK behind, and Nigeria is still who got the UK curriculum. UK. When last did anything that was part of the world come out of UK? They are not born at that time. But we are still there. Our brain is attached to that. Meanwhile, Texas is coming down. So if we are attached to an institution that is coming down and we are giving our children UK food, then they are not going to compete with Chinese people. I tell my own children in the house, I say, come, we are going to compete with Chinese. Forget about American, forget about UK. Those are old people. If you cannot outsmart China, they are going to capture our youth again. Voluntary slavery. Because they say that they are going to produce everything for us. Everything. That we just sit down, we bring down our own money, and then they will be giving us all the goods we need. But for that not to happen, the change starts from this place. You are the change agent. You are the one that will make it happen. How? From next session, let's look at those curriculum. Let's put IT inside of it, IT inside of nursing, IT inside of geography, IT inside of economics, IT everywhere, and let's upgrade the curriculum. And that's why we are here for you today. And I believe by the time we collaborate and we do that together, all of us will be very successful. And more importantly, at the point in time, you think less of yourself and think more of the future. And that's the stage because when you think more of the future, you'll be in your house one day. The same way I also send money to my own professors now who taught me in school. The same way, they will you just see that and you just hear like, okay, it is from Hira from UK. He remembers Prof today, he sent you £2,000 sterling because of what we've done for them. So if we care for their future, we don't have anything to fear in our retirement. Thank you very much. Thank you. After today, with the management of the university, we signed a partnership that will enable you to scale up in your IT. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My boss has said it all. So the only thing I will say,
so let you just go.
Where he ended the talk, what I will just briefly speak about. The dream, according to one Indian philosopher, one of their great leaders, he said the dream is not what we see when we sleep, but that which keeps us away from sleeping. That is exactly what engineer team has actually been sensitizing us about, and we need to take the step of faith No, Nigeria, we are good with policy formulation. But when it comes to execution, that's where we have problems. So most of my talk will be focused towards the students. What we currently have is a situation that there is need for a paradigm shift on excessive focus on paper qualification. I'm not saying that it's not good to have our first degree, the BSc, the master's, PhD. However, we really need to spice it with relevant, lucrative, international certification-based and project-based skills empowerment. By the time you spice your first degree, even in Islamic studies, with ICT, international certification-based skill set, you will become an okay. You spice your economics with relevant international skills, you will become okay. It's not as if there are no jobs there. Some jobs are being retired, some jobs are going into extinction, just like my boss said. Whereas new are being created every day and tomorrow. Today, how many universities do we have today? We have about, I think, around 191 universities in Nigeria. And year in, year out, graduates are being produced. More every year, graduates enter into NYC, they come out of NYC, and at the end of the day, they still end up living with parents, starting another run of childhood with parents. Because the parents will still have to give you small money, I want transport money, feeding money, and all those things. It is just unfortunate. Move the slide. I'll just run through the slide. Yeah. So according to the data that we have, just like my boss said, 85, National Bureau of Statistics, 85% of Nigerian graduates, they are unemployed or underemployed. The meaning of that is that we produce graduates that are not getting jobs. Whereas, it's not as if there are no jobs there. But do you have the relevant skills on top of the best degree that you have? 65% of manufacturing firms have gone into extinction in the last 10-15 years. These are facts that are well known to all of us. And these are the major employers of graduates in the past. But the situation has changed now. Many of them are struggling. People look at it today. Look at the cost of diesel now. How many companies can afford 750 naira per liter diesel? Many companies are holding up. And all these are having very negative effect on our youth, on graduates that are coming out, because the companies are collapsing every day. Look at the banking sector. We used to have over 80-something banks in the past. How many are existing today? Many of them are gone. And the little that people exist now, they are not doing all these contract jobs. Except you have that outstanding skills. Those are the ones that are still enjoying in that sector. According to World Economic Forum, he said 65% of tomorrow's huge job opportunities that technology we bring out. Skills, I'm just using that example so that our students will be able to really fathom what we are talking about. So all these courses are industry-based. These international certifications and project-based, they are industry-based.
and they are OEM determined. All the OEMs, those are the original equipment manufacturers, they have their curriculum, which are actually based on the industry practice, adding values. So those are the kind of things we are talking about when we talk about international skills certification. Such that by the time you travel anywhere in the whole world, you are not limited to here. If you travel to America, you travel to Europe, all these international skills and certifications, they are the same that you equally that are being obtained overseas. So that's the beauty of this of international skills empowerment. You will be in Nigeria here. We have graduates, we have students, even students who are already making money through remote jobs. So by and large, so that's the so primarily we are bringing that through collaboration to Al-Hikmah University, and from what has been said, we can see that it is very essential. Apart from the students themselves, we equally have an aspect for the lecturers, because we believe that lecturers also deserve skills upgrade in terms of increasing their productivity as well as self-development. So we usually, during the holidays, we equally train the lecturers as well. So then the other aspect of the type of collaboration we do is that when we collaborate, there are advantages to the university itself in terms of brand enhancement. Our collaboration also involves bringing, we are going to have labs. Just give us an open lab here, and then we equip them with the latest computers, the e-boards, and all of the software, even students, study materials, and all those things. And then we will be able to train them, so they come to the lab and they receive this training. And it is so organized that it is usually spread across 2 semesters. An average duration for international certification is 32 hours. And when we are talking about 2 semesters, that's just 16 hours per semester, in order not to belabor and overstretch the students. So, and then, by and large, it is the way to go. You know, the engineer team has painted the picture to us. But just like he said, we really need to take the step of faith. There is need to take action. So the action is that's exactly what we have been doing since 2005. In Bangkok University, we've been with Bangkok University since 2006. We've been in Bowen since 2019. We've been with Redeemers. We've been, in fact, we are in 18 universities to date. And we have been having feedback. These students, the graduates, they have been getting back to the university to appreciate the fact that the international skills empowerment has been helping them to get the job. And not only to get the job, it is also helping them to set up their own businesses. Because there is going to be a tech hub here, that's the innovation hub, where students will be mentored by us to come up with projects which university can equally commercialize and make money. So by and large, we charge us today, please let's move fast on this. Let's move away from the drawing board. Let's start the collaboration, and we believe the university, the students, and all the stakeholders, the lecturer will be better for it. Thank you very much.
The founder, Alhaji Chief Dr. Abdurrahim Alhaji, the very energetic Vice Chancellor of this visionary institution, Professor Yusuf, and the DVC, all the managers, the entire academic staff, the council, the Center for Research International Cooperation, as well as the students of this institution. My special thanks to the students, especially for reasons I'm going to share with us shortly. Thank you so very much. I stand on all of the existing operational protocols. I want this to be as practical as possible. I'm very bad at telling stories, but I'm good with aggregating data and showing proof. I was born in a time when you solve mathematical equations, they were asking you to prove your answer. How did you arrive here? There wasn't so much objective questions in that time. It was mostly theory. You have to prove that you know it. And so I'm privileged to be in between generations. That's how my friends and I born around the same time talk about it, because we saw the analog and we also saw the digital. So we understand the challenges of our elders. We also understand the opportunities of our colleagues and others that are coming behind us. Don't mind me yet, I'm young, okay? I'm definitely not the youngest, I'm not the oldest. But I'll tell two stories, two short stories. When I was in primary and secondary school, I was notorious for being intelligent but restless. All my report cards, the majority, as I can remember, hardworking but restless, intelligent but restless, does not stay in class, and things like that. So, what we got to understand after some time, and at this point now I'm speaking both to the staff and the students, what we got to understand after some time was that I assimilated knowledge differently than my peers. So I assimilated knowledge peripherally. I might not be looking at you, but I'm hearing everything you say, and it's like I'm memorizing it. And my teachers didn't understand that about me. Even my friends struggled with it, because I play in the day, but I read at night. So when I'm in the classroom, I don't concentrate the conventional way of concentration. Sometimes I will sneak out of the class to the school library to go and read books about astronomy, books about farming, agriculture, books about arts, literature, other things apart from, and I'm a scientist at the core, at least my first degree. So they will be looking for me in class during the periods that I'm supposed to be there, and they won't find me. But what I was doing was I was assimilating other ways of learning that my colleagues were not familiar with. And I was not doing it intentionally, it's just how I was wired. It took years for me to understand that was my wiring. So at the end of the day, it's like, this guy who makes noise in class comes at the top of the class. How is he doing it? So my form master concluded that I'm distracting others from studying while I'm hiding to study. But it took time to understand, and these are some of the challenges you would see. Now, in that time there were challenges. Now, because of digital habits, that's how a lot of young people assimilate knowledge. It's no longer what's called attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, to education technologists. That's not actually the case in a lot of cases, as it would have been defined in my own lived experience. Now, digital habits have changed the way knowledge is assimilated. So, the second story I want to tell is about now. The experience I gathered, that attitude from the first story happened to be one of my advantages in the second story, which is why I told it. I began working in Shell in an engineering department. Meanwhile, I didn't study engineering. The question is, how did that happen? I was brought before a team of engineers in expatriates, applied for a job, and I stood before them and they asked me one question: what can you offer us? That is a hard question to answer, especially when the people you are standing in front of, the least experience any of them has is 10 years in the oil and gas industry internationally, and you have never seen what an oil pipeline looks like before. So you have to be careful with your answer. So I told them, whatever process by which they are running this department, I can improve it. and I can give them proof that day. Now, I didn't have an idea how I was going to do that. But I had something. I had gathered this method of being able to assimilate information non-linearly, right? The average teacher or lecturer expects the student to sit still, listen to what he's saying, don't move your head, raise up your hand and ask questions and things like that. That's called linear assimilation. A lot of young people don't assimilate knowledge like that. So if you're not careful, you think they're not following. And you think that's what's affecting their grades. Many times that's not it. I'm going somewhere with this story. It's very important. So they looked at themselves and looked at me, and then they opened a portal. That portal was the interface that controls all of their equipment in the field remotely. And they told me, so how can I improve this process? And they gave me till 4 p.m. that day to give proof of what? The answer. Remember my first story? Proof of. So they gave me a system, I sat down, I looked at it. I had picked up the skill of graphic design at some point. So I redesigned the interface using the graphic design application. Then I made a few changes and highlighted those changes where I felt that process could be streamlined and still achieve the same result or better. So most of my time I actually spent it looking at the process to understand how does this thing work from an external point of view, which is another angle we are going to touch very shortly. Because a lot of what it takes to take the university to the next level may not be inside the four walls of the university. So an external eye is very critical. Because the world is moving outside of here. So I studied it and then I put those changes, and at 4 p.m. when they were closing, I printed out the sheet of that page and I gave it to them. And they looked at it and looked at the computer screen, looked at the sheet, and looked at me, and they didn't say anything. And they walked away. Then the man who recommended me to them sent me a message and said, resume on Monday. Thank you. This day I'm talking about was a Thursday. To resume on Monday. I was posted to a field, an oil field, somewhere in the bush in Delta State. And while I was there, I overheard two managers discussing that they lost 10 million naira in the previous 6 months. And I wanted to understand how did they lose money in a department. It was the maintenance department at that time, SPC. So I found out that some spares, some tools, equipment and materials were missing and finding themselves in the black market. Now that's for somebody who just came, and guess the role they gave me. I was in charge of spares, tools, equipment and materials. So in other words, my office was losing 10 million. And I was the youngest staff there, the least experienced. I just started. So I designed a process using Excel on how to check in and check out equipment and track it. I submitted it to my manager. He did not look at it for 1 month. And you know they run back to back in the field. So he believed this back to back will come in for 2 weeks or 1 month, depending on the arrangement. The second month, they didn't look at it. The third month, I kept asking, we don't have time, we don't have time. So the third month, he said, how much does this thing even cost to implement? I said, 0 naira, sir. So he looked at me. He said, okay, go and do it. You have my permission. So I implemented it. And then that year, 10 million naira was saved. And I was recommended for promotion. My contract was changed. In fact, my contract was changed 3 times with promotion in 18 months. And I ended up as one of 4 technical advisors in Nigeria to the maintenance managers, and there are only 4. So each maintenance manager in every region. This story is very important because as students, you need to believe in even those things that look like they are weird things about you. The question is, you need to ask yourself, how do I apply this? That's the only thing. Some of these things, God gives us as gifts, but you don't know. And if you're not careful, people will even discourage you out of what will bring you money. After about 3 years working with them, I was working offshore. And I observed now, at this point, people were not, they do their work, they go back to their chalets, and they sleep and get their fat salary at the end of the month. I was not about the money. The salary was good, but I was constantly thinking, how can this thing be better? So it made me observe things that people don't care about, or and if you report it, nobody will do anything about it. They will never improve. I have so much faith in the system that if they spot something that is to their advantage, it's a business. They're in business to make profit. They will pay attention. So I discovered something in the process that will cost the company a lot of money. In fact, by the time I reported it, the company ended up profiting 500 million that year because of that. That's how their award came in. And it was a simple observation. I just noticed a film. When there's a film on water, I just noticed a film in a place where a film should not be. That's an indication that a major oil pipeline was leaking.
Yeah.
Now, several of us had passed that place that day, but the way I do my checks was different from the way my colleagues do their checks. If I tell them, let's do checks like this, they will think I'm trying to show myself. So I don't talk. I just do my job and go. But in that process, I made the company 500 million. Now, my career from that place just went up because people walk into my office, I don't know, and say, don't you think you should be in consulting? I don't know where they got the idea. Some of them are managers I've never had direct contact with. But they started to give me ideas, and then I began to transit. So that's the story of how I moved into FMCG, fast-moving consumer goods, consulting for organizations, gathering data, research, working with a lot of young, growing companies, growing businesses. And I moved on from there. Okay, now we are looking at creative joint ventures, special purpose vehicles, innovation hubs and centers. I remember one particular incident, and this is what innovation is about. 2 years before, or roughly a year before Shell began to divest our companies in Nigeria and sell off our assets, I used to do something my colleagues didn't do, read newsletters. Company newsletters. Who agrees that company newsletters are boring?
Yeah, I agree. So many videos we cannot understand.
Others are trying to make me look funny. Newsletters are generally boring. There's a lot of jargon you need to know, but there's also a lot of intelligence in it. So I found out that the things that were in the mind of the top management in the Netherlands was speaking the story of a shift in the industry. Now at that time, Nigeria oil crisis, all those things were happening. But what I was seeing in the newsletter is this company is not going to continue to run like this, managing all of these assets independently. So I started to tell my colleagues, beware. In 1 to 2 years from now, your location may be sold. They called me a prophet of doom. Yes, most of them did that. Believe you me, that's exactly what happened. And the notice they got was very short. Some of them got 30 days notice that their locations were being sold off to private individuals, etc., etc. Some were being recouped by government, and things like that. Many of them out of job. Some were sold together with the company. Their salaries were revisited. You know how those things go. But those are things I saw from boring newsletters. It became clear to me that the language of this management doesn't sound like they want to continue managing all of these assets themselves. So innovation is all around us and it's constantly happening, but a lot of times we are not paying attention and we are not quick to take action. We tend to politicize it generally, and that hurts because the world is moving much faster than it was moving 10 years ago. So I will just focus on a few. Let's just talk about the business model of education. I think that's where I'll focus a little bit. Education has a business model that's operating differently in the world right now. And we need to understand how it works. Before this time, you are at university, you are delivering lectures and so on. You need to think about your university the way we in the innovation space think about startups and businesses. I've worked with over 3,000 entrepreneurs and 20,000 businesses across Africa in the last 4 or 5 years. And I can tell you that organizations need to think like startups if they want to transcend. And the first question you will ask is, what problem is your university? What's Al-Hikmah University solving? That's the first question. What specific problem are you solving? That's what gets you global relevance. The second question is, do you actually have a solution to that problem? The third question is, your market. You need to think about students as customers. You need to think about your community, the external community from whence you get your students as customers. They have options to choose between your university and other universities. Why should they choose yours? And why should people continue to choose it over the next 5, 10, 15 years? In the face of all of the other advantages they can get that's happening around them, maybe for even less price. Innovation is all about solving problems, spending less resources. That's the first thing about it. It should cost less. It should also be a new way of doing it, or an adjustment of an existing way, right? At least those two are fundamental. So, and it should save time. You should be able to save time. So, is this a big enough issue for your market? Fourthly, can you make money sustainably? Fifthly, are you the people to do it? That's what's your team structure like. Now, my company did a research, and this is how students are thinking. This is what they want across Africa, especially in our space. They want to be trained to think and form high-value opinions. Students want to be trained on how to think, as a matter of fact. How to think. They want to be empowered to contribute to society and influence the future. They want to be trained in problem solving and cross-discipline collaboration. So, your students want to collaborate with students from other universities across the world on projects that they are passionate about. And they want to get that development environment within the university system, and they are willing to pay for it. They want their initiatives to be encouraged and their self-esteem to be built. They want to be trained in transformational leadership, and they want to be trained in entrepreneurship and wealth creation. If you ask anybody now, why are you going to school? Okay, we have students. We have students in the house. Why are you going to school? Why are you here? Okay, let me ask you this way. Any student in the house that is not attending school because they want to leverage it financially, that's not why it is. It's not about the money. You don't care about the money. Please put your hands up. Nobody. You will be shocked. You see? Okay. We have one person. Okay, one person. Okay. What's your reason?
The money is part of it. In fact, the major reason most of our parents are parents.
Thank you.
But some of us want to make a change.
Okay.
Want the society to change.
Okay. In our research, we found out that the majority, their first reason was financial empowerment, aka the money. Then their second reason for some, a fewer number, their first reason was change, like you said. Their second reason, immediate follow-up, was money. Nobody wants to make change and die poor. No, but I guarantee you, in the data, we didn't find one. So, the second aspect is the present future of education. I call it the present future because it's already happening. People are calling it the future of education, but this stuff is happening. And some of it might scare you, but don't be afraid. Now, technology is transforming the way we live, the way we work, the way we play. Before we used to work and play. Now, your customers want to work and play while they're working because it helps them work better. Google has a whole play board and relaxation board right in the center of their activity. fact, one of the things that Google does is that it has the time that it gives to its employees for them to create disclosure agreements and those kinds of things. Because you know how it goes in consulting. You do something for them, but you can't really talk much about it and you can't mention too many names. So, but I will show some proof of some stuff towards the end. Now, these are key insights and facts. Within the university system, it's just one box of value. But I want to show you 4 other boxes of value that you need to incorporate quickly. The first one in the middle, what happened with that? The way they want to learn it. This is not government expenditure in that sense. Right? So let me move. The first two is creative joint venture. Perhaps I shouldn't talk too much about this because we know what joint ventures are. But in order for you to have joint ventures, you must have value that you are bringing to the table to establish that JV. There are lots of organizations in the private sector, in the public sector, locally and internationally that want to collaborate with institutions that have proof of value. They can capture that value and they can monetize it. Then we come to the table and discuss how to put it together. We do that for organizations. But the question is, and we'll get there soon. The second tool is special purpose vehicles. And one of the things an SPV does is that it allows you to experiment with something you haven't tried before. That is a risk, a financial risk. But you put some money into it and use an SPV to protect it so that your core revenue setup, operational setup is not disturbed by that other operation. The last tool is innovation hubs and centers. And Mr. Kawa has talked a bit about this. Now, this is a massive way to capture value. It's also a massive way to capture data. And data is the new crude oil. We all know that. But you see, what we have in university systems generally is information. We have population, we have information, but it's not treated, it's not marketable. So the value cannot be captured. So you can't call it data for real in the very sense of it. It's information. There's massive population. Some schools have 20,000 students. But you see, there's data within that information. An innovation hub actually has systems, programs, processes that can help you make sense of that and convert it into a sellable resource in a way that is attractive to the kind of clients you want to get their attention and get into joint ventures with. This is very critical because you don't want, trust me, Al-Hikmah University does not want every kind of business partner. No, there are strategic ones that are door openers within key areas and regions. And for you to get the attention of those guys, in fact, it's better to get their attention than to chase them. I found in my experience. Because they start calling you. There are people that are looking for money. I met an investor that said, she said to me, I have a target to spend $2 million between this time and this time. And what she was saying was less than 6 months. People have targets to spend money, not to make money, to spend. They are looking for means and opportunities. And she's saying if I'm able to successfully spend that money into innovation, investments and things like that, I can increase my quota. So the following year she can get as much as $5 million and a deadline at which to spend it. So I'm saying to Al-Hikmah University, there are lots of opportunities that are out there looking for where, but do we have the value that captures their attention? That's the question. So how to do that is to have what I call soft and hard properties. So I think maybe I'll explain what soft and hard properties are in a little bit. But I want us to do a workshop exercise so that this thing is not too boring. Within the short time that I have, I want us to do a workshop exercise. So let's take agriculture, for example. I want us to try and list the major challenges of agriculture in Nigeria. You can come from anywhere, the managers, the staff, the students. Just let's do this exercise. Let's work. It's a workshop, sir. So let's work together.
Okay.
But see, there's no wrong answer. We're just trying to get the major challenges of agriculture in Nigeria. We will solve a problem here now using innovation because I want to show us the real truth about innovation.
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
Because I said we have a problem with storage facility.
Storage, okay. I have my own answers, but I won't show my answers like yet.
Extension.
Extension services.
Yes.
Very critical. Thank you, sir.
Supply chain disruptions. Supply chain disruptions.
Processing.
Processing. That's another. Someone in the front here said supply chain disruption. I think
That's the one in charge of our
okay, and you're right. I wasn't targeting you, sir.
Don't worry.
Inadequate capital.
Yes, access to capital, all right. That every answer so far is correct, and I'm sure all your answers will be correct.
Inadequate equipment.
Sorry?
Inadequate equipment.
Equipment, inadequate, that's correct. There's a hand over there. I think I can. I'm mobile, so let me save time. Yes, I need one answer from the debate. Okay, madam.
Feeding a growing population, how do we feed ourselves? Is very important.
Okay, so the challenge of feeding a growing population.
There are conflicts between the stakeholders in agriculture, farmers, sellers.
Farmers, leaders, yes. I like the remainder. This one.
Preservation of agricultural.
Agricultural produce.
Use of old implements, problem of mechanization. Security.
That's what you wanted to say. Okay. I think it's clear that this house is vast.
Irrigation.
Aha, irrigation. Because of climate conditions now. Sir. Technology. Exactly, technology. I think most of the answers I was hearing were coming from insecurity. And that's your vote. I didn't know that was going to be the major answer before I wrote this slide. Can you see this slide? See the question there? Now, how did I know to do that? How did I know to tackle insecurity in my example? The answer is data. We have a sample size of what the reality on the ground looks like. So that even if I come into a population as random and ask the question as random, the answer must match with our research results. Am I right? Alright, so look at my answers. We are all saying the same thing. Lack of storage, access to finance, access to market, logistics, talking about storage, insecurity, geopolitical shifts, social-cultural sentiment, all these are issues. Now, if we say we want to tackle just insecurity, remember we are talking innovation here. What's the best and most innovative technology available to solve insecurity? For example, let me hide my answers, but I think some people have seen it already. I think there's someone at the back that needs a mic. What's the best right now way to tackle the insecurity challenge? You have an answer? Ladies first.
We can use technological advancements to tackle the problem of insecurity.
Everybody is saying what? Okay.
Is to gather intelligence such that you'll be able to prevent any insecure environment to come to a capable situation.
Can we have a look at
The use of surveillance technology such as drone technology to gather data.
That's another powerful answer. Any other? Let's take one more. Okay, then.
Food is life. Act. Let the farmer act.
Thank you very much, sir. All right. So we have enough Baba says, give guns to the farmers. They don't need tractors only. Also give them guns. And, and we have similar answers around using technology to solve the problem. Now, in my answers, I just put 3. Armed security personnel. Armed drones. Have you ever heard of armed drone before? Yeah. Then drone and response center. So the drones are working in a network and they are connected to the center that is monitoring that feedback and then can dispatch security forces within a particular time. Now the challenge with all of this is the same question we all ask, that what? How? The problem is our farms are majority held by smallholder farmers in Nigeria. Now these are illiterate to semi-literate people. They are culturalized in traditional and analog ways of farming practices. Our unique situation, according to the aforementioned data, places us 10 to 15 years slower than any of our agricultural counterparts anywhere in the world in Nigeria. So by virtue of the farming system as it is in Nigeria, we are 10 to 15 years behind. Almost. That's or more. I'm being conservative. The challenge now is that if you attempt to implement any of these solutions, you will have crisis. Because adoption will be the first problem. And reculturalization is one of the most difficult things to do. How do you want to make a 50-something-year-old farmer of 40, 80 hectares change how he has been farming for 25 years? He doesn't have time to listen to you. He wants a loan and other things like that. So you see, when you compare that rate of innovation with what's happening on the outside, you see that we are behind. Innovation, therefore, has to be something that is local, has to be a local solution. It's globally sensitive but locally relevant. Otherwise, it will not work. And therefore, it cannot be innovation for the simple fact that it doesn't work. So, what we are having and what my organization is seeking to change, and we are making good progress with that, is have actual innovation, not just technological solutions. There's a difference between technology and innovation. They don't mean the same thing. There are many startups that I looked at and said, I told investors, don't back these guys, they are not yet ready for business. And the answer was simple. They had technology, but there's no innovation there. It looks good in the beginning, but if you give it 5 years, it's going to die naturally. And we can see those things. But you see, a lot of investors are going with the fear of missing out. You know, it's called FOMO. And we don't have, our voice will become popularity, but it's not popularity, was it at that point? So they tend to go with what the other more established consulting agencies in the world are saying. And I make bold to state that quite a number of them are wrong. In fact, the majority of them are wrong about the African context. I was born in a rural area. I farmed. I interacted with farmers. I was one of the people that put together the USAID Project Sparrow brief that's currently being implemented across 7 states in Nigeria that are purely farming states. From the concept note to designing the investment readiness curriculum and program. So I can tell you for a fact that many things that are being called innovation are not innovation. And if we are to develop something as a university that is ready for the future, we have to be very strategic about it. It may not be a popular move, but 5 years down the line, the people that will be thanking you will be many. Because then the proof will begin to show. And any wise farmer knows that some of the most valuable crops, they don't mature in 3 months. Yes, some of the most valuable crops that keep on bearing perennially, they take a bit of time. But when they start to bear, they just keep on giving and giving and giving.
Permanent crop.
That's the strategy.
Permanent crop.
Right? Yeah, permanent crops. That's the strategy for innovation that actually works for the African context. We have been doing a lot of a political approach. It doesn't work for us. It's very exploitative, and in the end of the day, you will do something that looks nice in the beginning, and after some time, nobody's patronizing it again. That's lost its value. The trees that get stones and sticks are the ones with fruits. Alright, so let me move to how to deploy innovation hubs and centers of the future. I will focus on things I've done most recently within the last couple of weeks, between February and 8. Let's leave, because if I start to list on the organizations, there are plenty, but let's focus on the most recent. This was in Dubai in February of this year. It's an innovation center in Dubai. And we were just having a talk and interacting with the ecosystem players over there, and we're having a good time. And we've been part of developing innovation centers like that across the country. 3 things you want to consider at Al-Hikmah University. What's your product market fit? You must have a product that you are selling to be worthy of setting up an innovation center. There is something that people want to see, and we know what they want to see. Then there's sustainability. If something happens, can it stand the test of time? I've worked with several organizations, and in one of the organizations I worked with, coming off of the COVID-19 situation, while other companies were losing, we were making money. Because when I looked at the company direction versus what I saw was the real problem, I told them the problem is the model. This model is not sustainable. And they've been running well, they've been well known for about 10 years. So after 10 years, they wanted to review their process and say, what are we not doing well? And I told them, your model is not, it doesn't work anymore. It's good up until this point. And you don't see that it has stopped, it has reached systemic, but something is wrong with it. And I gave them the time. Give me so time to work on this. Of course, they didn't agree with me in the beginning. It was like there was a clash of ideas. But I know what I'm doing by the grace of God. And I said, it's the model, there's nothing else. Other things I did fine. But the model, so your model has to be sustainable. There are organizations that died instantly when COVID-19 came. They did not foresee, even though the signs were out there, that things were being digitalized, people are moving into the virtual space. They didn't take advantage of it. So when something happened that forced the digital space to become what everybody is suddenly using, they went out of business. And they had to start depending on loans from BPN and SL and COVID-19, you know those things. The third key recommended consideration for an innovation hub is that it has to be independent. It has to be run in an independent fashion. That's what gives it the ability to actually test things and try. Alright, so I'm going to share this very quickly. This is one of the IPs we developed for working with innovation centers and developing those centers, designing and developing it for our clients. The first is startup. We call it Smart E system. The startup process must involve your mission, your vision, the value for that innovation center. Secondly, you look at mining. This involves needs assessment, SWOT analysis, profit center analysis. So you need to look at profit centers that we need to focus on. Then there's assessment, 360-degree asset design. We basically design innovation hubs, design, support the building and all that, and then programs the processes from end to end, and then hand over. So even the team, the management and faculty of that innovation center has to be known. The stakeholders, both public and private, we help to develop that. Then the fourth stage is rendering, sustainable business model design and exit planning. You know what an exit is? An exit is, we're doing this business. When are we going to clear the first line of profit? Or when are we going to clear the profit? And things like that. Right. So, and then we look at trending. This is where ecosystem technology, digital space, innovation culture, partnerships and brand equity come in. And then the last stage is evolution, where you look at legacy and continuity. So that even if when Professor Yusuf leaves, it doesn't go down. When the people who built it transit to other pursuits, it doesn't go down, it keeps on growing. Legacy and continuity is responsible for that. There is no innovation center of the future that can survive without this system, this strategy. And we are taking about 10 to 12 years to develop this. So these are some of the recent innovation journey pictures, stuff that we developed for clients, spaces we redesigned for them to attract clients. This particular space for the clients now has about 80% utility from 30-something when we took over the project. It was not like this before. You don't want to see what it was like before. That one was ugly, but this is fine. You will all agree with me that this one is fine. These are some of the people who worked with clients. This is the vice consul of the Embassy of the Netherlands, and we were just going through some ecosystem arrangements in our office, and this is further design. So this was my tour in Dubai. This is the new World Museum in Dubai. It was opened in February. I was, and this is the picture I took. The first picture was from my hotel window. This one I took that night because it was really fine. I didn't know those things had LEDs. It was really, really beautiful. And this is inside. This is actually the sound loud enough to capture that. The CEO of Binance, you may be familiar with Binance, it was at this particular trip. And there's no good trip without a little bit of enjoyment. So yeah. Now, it's very important for me to say that I'm glad that Al-Hikmah University is looking at developing this thing, and we are willing to work with the university to set up an innovation center as soon as possible. And because we understand how they want to get things done as quickly as possible, and we understand how the ecosystem works, we have realistic timelines that actually work for you. So we are looking forward to actually collaborating to set up something for you. The entire process end-to-end, from design to delivery. Thank you very much. I hope this was engaging for us.
Very much.
Thank you so much.
Can we do better, please? That was an explosive delivery, practical in nature and beautiful to the mind. I want to believe that these presentations have in one way or the other impacted the way we look at technology. I remember a couple of years ago, I told one of my professors that I was going to help him to save some documents in the cloud. And he looked at me and said, in the what? I said, in the cloud. It was like cloud. He was looking up. I was on his phone. You know? So, just like you rightly said, the world today has gone virtual. And if care is not taken, if we do not take the right steps in the right directions, jobs will be lost in a couple of years to come. I was in Qatar in December.
Government on digital university. That's question number one. If not, how long do you think it will take for us to have a digital university in Nigeria?
It's actually not very easy to accept this kind of innovations. So during the course of your experience, what kind of ideas have you brought to life which can be included in the curriculum? Because I can't remember the last time the curriculum was actually revised into like sorting out the societal problems that we're having today. So if we are not actually having this straight organization, that means we are not even going anywhere. And Mr. Israel, during the course of your experience or your life, what kind of opportunities have you provided for individuals with innovative ideas? This innovative hub that you mentioned, which is one of barriers to new ideas, most students or young individuals that are familiar with always have the perception that whenever they have innovative ideas, there's nothing to do it, even after giving the ideas or explaining how effective it's going to be in society. They are not going to have anybody to talk to them to give them encouragement or even actually funding. So if funding is a problem to innovative ideas, I don't think it's going to be working. So what kind of implementations can we do to that?
We want to urge you, maybe in line with the management, to see how we can rebrand the university in terms of delivery. I'm saying this in line with the sustainability of our markets, where we get our students from. And areas where I want us to look at the curriculum design. Academic staff should be exposed to innovations and technology that can assist the drive of our curriculum. that meets the needs of the current society. Like I said, Shell today is one of the greatest investors in alternative energy, and it started way back. So let's look at, I call it a startup, a tech kind of that can give us an edge about other investors. This workshop will not be good if we cannot have one product that can sell this university in the coming years. Thank you.
About the challenges of this, and how to solve the challenges of cultural humanitarian. People were contributing. But I thought of one thing in which, according to those specialists, they have been one way or the other making use of it and oversee conflict. How come we use satellite to come the problem of insurgency and the problem related to the agricultural issues?
Not useful to this country. Coming to our institutions, virtually all the faculties have projects written by students that are literally the place that are not useful. How can we digitalize this project? Secondly, to guide the students in writing projects that are related to the development of this country. So I think this is just management. How can we digitalize a process whereby the student will be assisted in writing useful projects that will really sell, make them sell and then sell investors into time?
Thank you very much, Mr. Fernando. The final.
Because I believe the workshop is very beneficial to both the institution as a whole and the individual in general. So at individual level, how can we gain access to your materials and the training platforms?
Thank you very much.
The first question is in the area of research. Currently, our academic staff as part of the three tripod of our assignment, that is teaching, research, community service. We are constantly engaged in research. But just like someone just said there are many research, the project for the graduate, for masters, that are literally everywhere, across all places in Nigeria. And the question has been asked, what do we do there? This material. Look at our library. The library is there. We have a section where we just drop down and say, okay, let's garbage collector, come and collect them. So the question has been asked, what do we do? Are they also part of data? Two, that's for the data our students. How about for our own researcher, lecturer? I said we are constantly engaged in research. And the part of the university effort to reach our minister, we put in place what we call selling research grants currently, which academic staff have to write very good, rich, and attractive proposal. You take your grant or give it to you in tranches. But where I want to driving at is this research, just like the American postgraduate our students, I think not part of this garbage. How can we transform these researches to products? And actually we have challenged our staff. And while that the research grant is on, we have said, and actually the chairman also added as one of our addendum, that any research that cannot attract funding or that is not innovative, that cannot provide a solution which is obvious or which will not have to do with leveraging on university and industry, that proposal will not take ground.
So I want to assist this aspect. All of them are here. How would their proposal which they are writing now, how can they transform it to product these something which will evidently say that these are not something is coming to the university. That's on ground, it's not money. And through maybe linking with the industry, always take another sense of organization. But meaningful, not like the gathering solar that we have. So that Nigeria will have led task, inviting collectors. That's one. Two. Sorry that I have to because it's a very important. Two. Again, for NUCR for this ranking, and part of the criteria for ranking is what is profile of the university, our staff profile, university website, student information, and so forth. And the question is, how is not also part of the data that will be transformed into this dollar or pound I'm talking about, which we can leverage on. And more importantly, that how can this academic staff, how can they reassure that their publications, which we should do, which they are already they have uploaded into the best website, already uploaded into Google Scholar, into research page, and so on and so forth. How can this also affect them something? It's not possible. So that they will be now encouraged to do that. There are many of us that are almost the happiest. Like the record is, it's not phobia or cynicism. That and so as people have said, am I not the owner of my publications? How do you say, if you say we should upload to the website, all people have free access and pay the right of that. So how can they be assured that this data which I've said, it's also money, but it's not, how can it be money for them? That's the problem. So it can be more encouraged, and you have encouraged them collaboration with students. They have this idea, this young actually, they have what it takes to drive this. Can we encourage and start in your research? Put this current proposal and say, let's let the server. Who has no idea that now? We are going to do one is also so how can we collaborate as we are doing so that we are raising to tomorrow's generous through this student. Then lastly, the innovation hub I want Israel to be able to demonstrate vividly this innovation hub. Can you give us maybe example of one around it? You have been to many parts of this country. That before we start at home, we can go there for peer review, check what is there, and so you can do it better. It is true, right from now, I want to commend our innovation hub, but we have that you can use as a model, but you can do it better. Because at the university, with all my channels, favor and grace, we do it better than others. Thank you.
Research. How do we monetize the research? 2 or 3 or 4 questions inside one. One is the lecturer research papers and their publications. 2 is the students' research work for their BSc, MSc, or what have you. For the students, before I came here, one of the things I discussed with the CVC is that the platform we are building for the universities across Nigeria, we are going to digitize all the students' research papers on that platform so that anywhere in the world where they also want to write anything, that plan of the project. So going forward, I will want the university to make a pronouncement that our own students here, no university has ever done that in Nigeria, and just about to know what you are talking, that you can form, because somebody asked, how can we distinguish our university from the 200 universities in Nigeria? This is one of the things we can do which nobody has done. That going forward, all our final year students, the project they will do has to be relevant to solve a societal problem. Not just, okay, which topic is easy, which one will I easily make an A. That's how I told my own talk when I was in university. Okay, I studied international relations. I was looking for easy topic. I wrote about West Africa, ECOWAS. What am I going to do with ECOWAS? Who needs ECOWAS? Who needs ECOWAS? But that's what I end my PhD on, and it's useless. So going forward, we must now ensure that our children will not deceive themselves. That don't write a project because it's easy. Don't take a project because you want to score A. The end project of any student project in this university is to solve a societal problem. And I'll give you examples. All of us have heard about the Iron Dome in Israel, where they used to protect themselves. It was a project from the university by students that, okay, we are not secure, but if we can secure our air defense, then we'll be safer. So the students at university went to that project, and then they got funding and it became a multi-billion-dollar project. That South Korea is buying, India is buying, all over they are buying. That's a project that solves their own problem. In fact, they told me that every product that we see from their country is a response, is someone's response to solve a solution. And then once the problem is solved, they commercialize it and they give it to all of us, all over the world. Also, Google is a project of Larry Page and his partners in the university. They also needed material to write their Panaya project, and there was no place to be found. They now thought that if in future we have a platform where all resources in the world are domiciled, then the problem they are facing today, that's the Google guys, it will not be faced by the people coming after. And that problem that was solved is now a $1 trillion company. Google is a $1 trillion company today. And they are not up to 10 companies that are $1 trillion in the world today. So going forward, it is the royalty for those professors and their students is for life. Because one of the things they do is that when they sell, they don't collect all cash. If you say it's 6 billion, we are going to collect cash 10 billion. 6 billion is in store. So that if that 6 billion become 1 trillion tomorrow, they will also be part of that $1 trillion. It's a project from the university, mobile app, that in future a car will be driven without a driver. So what do we need? We need an app, and it's created a software. So those are the things that should be of benefit for attending this program today. As I'm waking you now, that you need to think. There are numerous problems in this area or even Nigeria, and then you are going to run programs on that. One of the causes is this Okada delivery, what they call the courier services. You cannot believe it. That was the most profitable business during COVID. If you go to Lagos now, it's all over. Okada everywhere to deliver stuff. They deliver pizza, they deliver everything you buy, they deliver for you. Meanwhile, all the people who went to that business, they went there without formal training. Nothing stopped you from organizing formal training for them. And as before you become a delivery man, you need a certificate from Al-Hikmah University on courier services, on logistics. So these are some of the things you can do to make money. And the final question, somebody said, rebranding of the university, moving from rural economy to knowledge economy. By the way, we've even left the knowledge economy. We left the knowledge economy in around late 90s. We are now in what we call innovation economy. The reason being that knowledge is now a sachet water. Knowledge is being commoditized and it has little value. There is none of our professors here, either brilliant or not. You cannot be more brilliant than good. Everything they taught me in the university is free of charge on Google. Yeah. Everything we are teaching them is free on Google. That has reduced, nobody employs anybody again on knowledge. The world has left knowledge economy. We are now in the innovative economy. How come that two boys, Uber, they never been to Nigeria and they set up a system and everybody is living in London here, you have Uber drivers. When they find their company, they find it at $80 billion. That's innovative economy. So how do we move from rural economy to innovative economy? The future for them is innovative economy. When I was leaving school in Ife, what we thought that would give us job is all those philosophy, all those things that we write. So when we get to job interview, we'll quote Aristotle, we'll quote nobody needs that now. Aristotle, everything on Aristotle is on the internet. Oh God. Free. Black free. So if any of you wants to do what we did, he want me to make I don't to them my children. I said, come. If you are brilliant as me, then you fail. Because in those days there was no China. I think for we China are not open up 30 years ago. Now these children, they are going to compete 1.4 billion Chinese, and half of them are wizards in terms of brain. Already. You see them the way they perform in Olympics. They run like a wish. So then we have to prepare them for innovation. They have to outthink China. I tell my children, if you cannot outthink China, then there is no future. China is producing everything. They are everywhere. All to soup, they drink China soup. They produce gari in China. Now China is going to cocoa that we used to be our exclusive right. They're going to cocoa production. And they are exporting cocoa to Europe now. And they say their cocoa is without fertilizer. So that they can undersell the
very strategic. If you are going to a new area that you are not very familiar with and there are risks, it helps you to secure that business entity. So it protects the organization that is funding that from risk. So it de-risks the business. That's what an SPV does. If it's a high infrastructure project, an SPV is also good for it. And that's why some organizations tend to apply SPVs when they are building very massive innovation centers. Some of them structured at 6, 7, 8 floors, right? So they want to kind of secure that with an SPV. It's a tool that allows the institution or the organization to operate a for-profit business venture as a subsidiary. That's what an SPV does. So it puts the idea together and operates it as a subsidiary business. Like I said, it isolates financial risk. It also minimizes financial exposure. So that's what an SPV does. It's just a type of contract, it's a type of financial arrangement. The financial business people in the house understand what I'm talking about without going into too many boring technicalities. So an SPV can be a partnership, it can be a trust, it can be a limited, but it just depends on the arrangement of the contract itself. So, the second question was, what opportunities have you provided to entrepreneurs with ideas to help them progress further? I think that question was from that lady over there. I partnered with organizations over the last 5-6 years to develop and train entrepreneurs from idea stage. Now, idea stage is kind of what happens after a hackathon. For instance, you do a hackathon, And then where do you go from there? A lot of such things die at that point, never progresses. Because the next logical stage is ideation. So it needs to be taken from just something that came out of the hackathon and progress through ideation into implementation. So we've done over 20,000 businesses in Africa in the last 5-6 years, taking them from idea stage to investment stage. And that included finding investors that aligned with those guys and their direction and pairing them together, either on their behalf independently, on behalf of organizations that were sponsoring them. So, I mean, obviously those organizations, they tend to have certain equity in those startups. Some of these businesses, I worked with one organization that we were able to develop, rise up to a portfolio of 170 startups owned by that company. At least, as much as I know, at least 3 of those startups are unicorns. In other words, their valuations are $1 billion and over. And they have 170 such startups spread across Africa, from Egypt to Botswana in Southern Africa. That's one company. And some of their percentages in those companies are 2%, 3%, 6%, 7%, and so on and so forth. But the market value of that 6% will shock you because of the kind of solutions that those startups are bringing in impact sectors. So they are solving real problems. These are real problems that they are solving with real solutions with an African context. It's very important. Not everything in the West works here, and they know. So what they are doing is coming here to invest in mining a lot of data, and they've been doing it silently for years. The reason they are doing that is they understand that the population is going to double within a decade and a half. So we'll be looking at twice the population of Africa in another 25 to 30 years. The implication of that is that the people who are innovators now will still be young men and young women at that time. But if we are not careful, all of those properties will be owned by foreigners. Will be owned by foreigners. So my organization, Black Unicorn, is looking forward to a partnership agreement with this university that allows us to set up a tech innovation center here to push out products from this place. Right? Assets, sellable assets from this place, within the local market, within the regional market, within the national market. That answers the question of branding and products that the gentleman asked from the back. It's very important. So what an innovation center does, it helps you to see what you don't see as a traditional business, and then put a system that can develop that, make it attractive to the people who are looking for that kind of thing to invest in or to buy into, and then sell it to them, partner with them. That's how you expand. We must innovate it, and we must innovate it our own way. One solution is to get a lot of sponsorship and support for young people who are interested in innovation. I'm talking innovation in agriculture, in the field in government. So if we're including more young people to the field, right? They are going to be bringing their solutions and technologies and reculturizing that place by population. Are we getting this? Yeah. By population. As the older farmers are phasing out, these younger people will be replacing them.
Technology is improving.
But the sector will be getting innovated. I once received some amount of investment, $500,000 from a sponsor agency. And they said to me, give us some women that are involved in agriculture, let us give them this money. All the women I talked to felt that agriculture means standing in the sun and suffering. Because I did not tell them $500,000 was involved. Meanwhile, there are aspects, and what they requested from them was simple: just bring innovative things in agriculture. As a woman, a young woman in business.
To still convince and reassure my colleagues that their ongoing research and researches, and that the uploaded publications in Global Scholar, ResearchGate are commoditized. They are commodity. We can come to money. I want you to assure there is a partner. I wanted to go out straight happy. That's all what I have in ResearchGate, what I have in the website is money. Which will come to you very soon. The dollars are found. I need to know that assurance. And And lastly, this for innovation. It's very good that if anything at all, we are taking out of this place, this result, that all are, even from our students, my children, that your project, you get to final year, must be problem-solving project, not what call it, cause and effect of primary education. Let me give an example for you. I'll allow Edna and God to something. My PhD, I'm a PhD candidate, let's talk about it. And as usual, is criminology. I'm an industrial board, as a professor, I can advise, and I do that I'm a design graduate for criminology, any area. So this candidate, on my own, I personally gave him, it had about 3 topics which I was interested in. And I gave him one. That one was almost too novel. I said, criminality.